Oh, hey there. Welcome to another episode of Me and My Gorgeous Husband. I'm your local sex-positive therapist, Adam Marr. Y'all, I am so excited for MaSean and I to share today's episode with you so we can finally put love languages in the trash where they belong. Burn it with fire. And finally, we get to important things like porn names and X-Men fantasies and an interview with Mr. Exotic World 2018, Icky Muffin! Y'all ready? MaSean, so something that happens in my world of therapy land is I hear a lot about the love languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. Have you ever heard of the love languages?
I heard of them. I don't know much about them because I don't live in that world.
You're about to learn a lot about them because I had to learn a lot about them. So they came out, Dr. Gary Chapman came up with this in like the late 90s. It happened to be when I was like very much in the God Squad and evangelical. So it was like a huge thing in my church. And it's this idea that there are like 5 ways that people communicate and receive love, which, you know, I think from looking at it from a perspective of what can you glean from the garbage I'm about to tell you about it, that's about it. Like that you could go, cool, people can receive and communicate love in different ways. But here's some of the issues I have with Dr. Gary Chapman's work. Number 1, he's anti-LGBTQ.
Why does that not surprise me?
Imagine that.
Yeah, well.
So, you know, I found 2 blog posts of his that talk about essentially, you know, how do you love your child who is queer, but get them to change their behavior and be what God wants them to be.
I don't know what you want from me. I'm sick. Shut the fuck up.
My gosh. Secondly, he had someone from Focus on the Family on his podcast.
Yeah, I listened to it. It was painful.
It was painful. I listened to it too, and I made you listen to it.
Yeah.
One of the things that like struck me as ridiculous listening to it was his argument was like, you know, even within the LGBTQ community, there's infighting. And I was like, what group doesn't have infighting? Like there are literally dozens of churches out there because people were like, I don't like the way that you drink this wine and eat that cracker.
Yeah, he definitely made a really big deal out of it. He was like, you know, we're not specifically bad for disliking the LGBTQ community. I mean, they don't even like themselves. The G's don't like the Q's, and the Q's don't like the T's. And I was like, oh, God, this dude.
And yeah. I think he tried to be cute and be like, the Z's don't like the E's.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, my goodness.
And you're right. That is a really weak argument. It's like there are endless amounts of humans who don't like each other. It has nothing to do with one specific community.
So, MaSean, you know, I am a reasonably smart person, and I decided to do what any smart person would do. And I said, let's look up the research, the scholarly research on the love languages. And I had Jeffrey, our intern, and I invited Karen Rain, our former guest, to send me anything they could find. And they both only found the same 2 scholarly articles.
Which was?
One was from a journal that is now non-existent as of 2015, and it studied a speech class in a Midwest town. So I was like, that's not really helpful to anyone, right? Like,
sure.
If you're in a journal that can't even like exist for more than a few years, you're probably not great research. So the other one that I looked at was from an article in 2018 from the Journal of Human Sciences and Extension. And, you know, they found that teaching people that there are different ways to express love and feel love help people learn more about themselves. But there was not enough evidence to conclude that partners would modify their own behaviors to accommodate their loved one's love language. So essentially, you can learn it, but that's not going to change. And that's because this isn't built on social science or anything like that. This is just Dr. Gary Chapman's own brouhaha that he came up with. So, you know, I'm going to get into the beef that I have with the love languages. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
One of them being, you know, people kind of are who they are to a degree. Like you are going to be an introvert. That's
True.
unlikely to change unless you have some major head trauma,
Right. No.
right? This gonna be who you are.
And then it'll probably get worse.
So the idea that like, oh, my love language is going out and doing things with you and having adventure. If that's not part of who you just naturally are, you're really going to have a hard time doing that for me.
True.
Right? Someone's more asexual and their partner's like love language is physical affection.
Yeah.
It's really easy to be like, well, you don't love me. Which is nonsense, right? It's not taking into account who that person is. So I think one of the issues, I know one of the issues I have with the love languages is that it doesn't encourage people to value the love that they get. So I think of it like we can look for love in a specific packaging, and that's going to lead to a lot of frustration. But if I think you genuinely care for me, and I look at my role in our connection as finding the ways that you express that and advocating for myself when I can, then I'm going to have a better shot at really appreciating you and all
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah. That was actually one of my questions. There's, I guess, 5 love languages, but what happens when you don't really fit in those? Or,
Yeah.
surely there's other areas.
Or when you live in a society that has taught you not to focus on things like emotional expression, right? If you were raised male in American society,
Right.
there often isn't a great deal of kind of cheering on for emotional expression. And so then these dudes get married and they're like not able to express themselves. And it's like, you don't really love me. Well, I
Right.
had 27 years of learning to be stoic
Yeah.
because that's all I was told I could be. One of the things I have beef with in the love languages is that it's pretty fixed. So it's like you take this quiz and it's like, this is your love language, right? And, maybe like, let's say I have a month of really a lot of hard work. If I'm out of our house often and seeing a lot of clients and doing a lot of events, I might really appreciate the acts of service you do. I might really appreciate that you have kept the house clean and you make dinner.
Right.
But let's say the next month is like super chill. And so I have all this time now to make dinner. I have all this time to help clean up. And now I really want like physical attention. But you've already been like, well, your love language is acts of service. So
Right. I already met that quota, sucker.
yeah. So it's this idea that like, I think life is really chaotic. And so what we want or need is going to shift depending on what's going on in our life at that time.
Yeah, it's weird. We did not discuss this beforehand, but that was my second question. Is there like just one top language for a person, or do they float between different things? Like, how does that all add up? But I guess it changes over time.
Well, I mean, I'd say moment to moment for people.
Yeah.
But I also see people as constantly shifting. We're not that kind of static.
Yeah.
Yeah. What other questions did you come up with?
I'm distracted by Le Kirill.
What? Oh my goodness. Our dog would be going absolute ape shit right
A
now.
beautiful little squirrel.
Yeah.
The other thing about the love languages is, so when someone comes up with some sort of concept that society attaches to, and then years down the road you find out that the person who invented that or discovered it or whatnot, it turns out to be a complete and total asshole. Like, does that erase the validity of what they created?
Oh, I think that's a great question. Like I said, I think the due that I will give the love languages is it teaches people that there are lots of ways to feel connected and good, which I think is really healthy. The issues that I have is it's not inclusive, it's fixated, and it puts pressure on one person to meet your needs, when in reality, you can get your needs met by your whole community. You can get your needs met by yourself. You get your needs met by doing your own hobbies.
Yeah.
So it limits people's access to feeling connected and loved and having their needs met. And so this thing that claims to help people is really garbage. So I'm going to advocate for people in my community, the therapy community, to stop using it as a kind of point for getting people to change behavior.
Yeah. No, I think I can get on board with that. For me, it's like religion. It can be used for good or bad. So I don't need that. I pass.
You done with it?
Yep. You want to do porn names?
Oh my goodness, yes. Can we please do porn names?
So, in the beginning of the Bible, it stated that your porn name would be...
In the beginning, God created porn names.
Yes. Your first pet's name in combination with the first street you lived on. So,
yes.
if that equals your porn name, what would yours be?
Mine's is so problematic for 2019. My name would be Brownie Raintree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very hippie-ish.
Yes. Poor Brownie. That dog.
Oh, I forgot this was a dog.
Yeah. She was like an outside dog because my family was like super country.
Yeah.
And like me being 8 years old, going out there to like feed her, she would just go wild because she was like, attention, someone's looking at me.
Yeah.
And then she would tackle me to the ground.
Aw.
Yeah. So Brownie Raintree, which, yeah.
Also, brownie sort of implicates you in a particular type of fetish, which is a lot.
I'm the scat man.
Yeah, it's a lot of assumption.
Ba-da-bee-ba-ba-ba-da-bo. You remember when I talked to that guy on Grindr who was into scat to like understand more about it?
Yeah, not singing, but
No.
yeah.
Yeah, scat play.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hi, like, I do a lot of sex positive work and therapy. Can I ask you some questions about scat play? And he was like, yes. And I was like, what kind of loafs do you like? And he likes them healthy.
Yeah, well, I could imagine that's the only answer.
No,
I refuse to believe that even people in scat want someone to eat a ton of Mexican food and just blast them with liquid.
You are limiting sexuality, and I'm not here for it. So go get a job in the Trump administration.
I'll be there on Tuesday with them in court.
You'll be like, look, I don't know about all the gays, but I'm married to one. He's a real asshole. Yes, they should be able to be fired.
Yeah, I'm a really clean person. I like to believe that doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe not for you, but for people, yes. Yeah, I love asking people on Grindr about like their fetishes.
Yeah, I mean, where else would be better?
Some people are really into like, they're like, oh, this is so cool. I've never even thought about talking about it. It's so much better than like other folks who are like, oh no. I'm like, you're literally on an app to have connections, many of those being romantic or erotic, and you don't know what you want?
Yeah, and that scat guy, he knew what he wanted.
Yeah,
His profile picture was just like a toilet seat hooked to 3 leg chairs.
He knew what was up.
He rigged a device. He was ready.
He went to Home Depot on a Saturday, MaSean. That is
dedication.
That is a layer of hell that I will never want to go to.
Yeah.
So your porn name?
Oh, mine is Major Mayo.
Which
accurate.
Yeah, I was gonna say surprisingly accurate. You are a producer.
I like to roll around in a tub of mayonnaise. Oh my gosh. Just kidding.
You make me wear a Hellman's costume.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
Mariah, what would your porn name be?
Snowball Rockwood.
Snowball Rockwood.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, I'm going to be Snowball Rockwood.
I mean, Snowball is the thing.
Yeah.
Rockwood sounds like a
what's
famous
Snowball,
actor.
a goldfish?
No, a giant white Samoa
Oh,
dog.
a giant white Samoa, which is a cookie.
Yes, the Girl Scouts sell them.
Yeah.
Samoas.
I was going to say, right? That's a cookie. Or that's that guy who played Aquaman?
No. That's Jason Momoa.
Actually, her name was Snow Bear.
Snow Bear. Ooh, it's French.
Up. Yes, Bert. Snowbear. Madame Snowbear.
Madame Snow Bear is here for you.
Je suis très sexy.
Oh. My panties just got moist.
Yeah.
MaSean, I'm super excited because we have a very lovely human being here with us today.
He's not so bad.
He is Mr. Exotic World 2018, meaning he was the king of boylesque. Mr. Icky Muffin.
Hey, y'all.
Royalty.
What's up?
Yes. So, Icky, you were like a big deal in the burlesque world.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
Wait,
I did a thing.
I guess so.
I did a thing, and I did it okay.
Like,
I made toilet paper magic.
you did.
My goodness.
For folks who don't know, just go look up Icky Muffin stuff. Look up Dick Cat, and you will know exactly what we're talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. My most prolific piece is definitely Cats Are Dicks.
Yeah.
And it's a stripper storytelling of a cat who's up to no good. Basically destroys everything on stage and knocks a bunch of shit over. It's great.
And you do it beautifully because, like, your expertise is the lyra.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. What did you?
Your
how did
expertise?
you describe it?
Expertise.
I was talking about beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, that too.
He missed.
But you do lyra and you do it fast. Like, you spin.
Yeah. One of my monikers over the years has been the Texas Tornado. For a while, I was trying to do this thing. It was 6-pack and a side of ribs, but like I'm like in my late 30s now, and like that is kind of questionable.
I was gonna say it's being generous.
Yeah,
Late 30s.
real generous now.
It does get more difficult.
Yeah, I like burritos and cupcakes too much.
You do love burritos.
I sure do.
That's like what you're known for in our circles.
Yeah, in most circles, going back years, like I am kind of obsessive about what I eat and when I eat it, and that like I really like consistency. It gives me control in my life, and this is not to say that I'm like I am so healthy and I eat all the right things. I mean, it could just be that 5 days a week for 3 years, I have Chipotle for lunch and then a bowl of Schlotsky's broccoli and cheese soup for second lunch. And that's just how I keep my life together.
He does that before he returns to the ring.
Yeah. There used to be like a Deadpool to see like when I was going to accidentally shit on everyone while spinning, but so far we've been good. So
It's all good.
Yeah, I'm take
Jokes
some
on
bets.
jokes on you, friends.
That's right.
Do you always bet on yourself for never?
Absolutely,
Just
absolutely.
rake it in hand over fist.
Well, if we were talking about throw up, though, there was a period of years when I really first started performing where I would walk off stage and everyone who had performed with me previously knew to have a trash can ready.
Yeah.
Because it was coming out one way or another.
When you spin that fast.
Yeah, well,
Or nerves.
it's actually kind of a mixture of the two because, like, when you spin really fast, the fluid inside your ear also starts to move and rotate. And when you stop spinning, when you come off of the apparatus and you're expected to stand still, that fluid is still spinning, but you are not. So that's what actually makes you nauseous. And then you breathe differently. There's adrenaline because of the audience reaction, stuff like that. And that time,
all the while making sure your balls don't slip out of a very tiny piece of fabric.
like producers like super hate it when your nuts slip out. So we have safety panties, and sometimes there are more safety panties depending on what may or may not happen. So yeah.
Wow.
I love it. So for people who don't know what burlesque is or never been to a burlesque show, how would you describe that to them? What is it like?
Amazing. Burlesque takes so many different forms, especially with the onset of neo-burlesque, this resurgence of burlesque in the mid-'90s. It has just taken all these different avenues. So burlesque used to be, the pinup look, old Hollywood throwbacks, things like that.
Lots of ostrich feathers.
Absolutely. Feathers and rhinestones and glove peels and stocking peels and things like that. And now people are just a little bit more inventive with it. Not to say that anything that was done before is less great. It's just
and expanding.
the genre has expanded.
Yeah.
So
there's like spooky burlesque.
Oh, there is definitely spooky burlesque. There's nerdlesque. There's just all these different avenues where people are expressing what they're doing in different ways and kind of owning their bodies, their sexuality, their storytelling. And we all have this opportunity to have absolute agency over what we're creating.
I've seen online Fraggle Rock burlesque.
Oh,
and I was like,
absolutely.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a real Wembley. I'm into it. When it comes to creating a set, what is your layout? Do you start with music, or do you just have an idea of what you want to do and then find music to fit it?
It can kind of go either way. So, I do a lot of thematic shows. Like someone will ask me to do a White Rabbit number for Wonderland, or I will be creating an act for a Fifth Element show or something like that. And so in that case, I may have a character, and most of my best prolific acts originated that way because I just got really into it. I happened to find music that felt right, and then I just get super obsessive about it. But, you know, I'm a person who sits there watching hours of brain-numbing television with my phone on hand and Shazamming commercial music and music in the Vampire Diaries or the Royals or some sort of thing. And usually I'll have a playlist running that's like music that I would or want to perform to.
Yeah.
And if something aligns, then I'm like, this is perfect, let's do it.
Nice. Do you have other apparatus that you use, or are you just a lyra guy?
Not really. I have taken classes to do other things, but my confidence usually gets the best of me, and I think I can take higher level classes than maybe I am ready for, and then, you know, I end up hanging from one wrist, nearly breaking it from a silk 15 feet off the ground, and, you know, it kind of like stops the classes. Yeah. So I try not to do that to instructors that I respect, and they also appreciate that I stay in my own lane.
Yeah.
So, Icky, a lot of burlesque is about being sexy, and it brings to me like this question of like, what does it even mean to be sexy?
You know, I think what sexy is so personal, and that's part of the proliferation of all these different genres and avenues that burlesque can take. I mean, if you watch a nerdlesque show versus a classic burlesque show versus like spooky burlesque show, people are idealizing what is sexy in all these different ways. And maybe that's faux masturbating with a crucifix and covered in corn syrup blood, or
that's MaSean's version of sexy.
Yeah, or maybe it's just like this adorable creation, you know, like an homage to superheroes, and it's not classically sexy, but it's still sexy. We just all take it a different way.
Yeah, I think of it a lot when I talk with people about developing a sense of a sexual identity. It's like just being seen and celebrating it.
Absolutely. Because, you know, in television and movies and things like that, like we are indoctrinated that sexy is this one form and flavor.
Yeah. You have to be like magazine sexy.
Right. Magazine sexy. And if you're not, then you should actually be embarrassed.
Yeah.
You should be like concerned. You should cover up. And, you know, burlesque is a celebration of not that.
And I think about this, MaSean, you can probably speak to this some too from your modeling days, how much kind of like taking sexy images or performing sexy is really about these really intricate ways of holding your body or face that are really unnatural.
No, yeah, it's true. You try 1,000 different things from different angles with different lighting and different filters, and you hope that 4 of those 1,000 things work really well. And that's the one thing that gets put forward, which is sort of a distortion of reality in a lot of ways.
I did a boudoir shoot with my friend Elizabeth from Toward Boudoir, and she like gave me like the basics. She's like, when you're like laying on your arm, you have to act like you're holding feathers in your fist. So you can't be like a hard fist, like I'm holding up all my body weight. This feels awkward. You have to
Not
be
that there's anything wrong with a hard fist.
Yeah. But like holding feathers. So there's all these like little tricks. And I think for lay folks looking at it, they're like, why can't I do this thing? And I'm like, oh, because it's so much work to take a living, breathing moment and make a 2D image of it.
And one thing, too, I think about sexy is I think how you relate to your own confidence is really important, and that is not always authentic, you know? Like on the burlesque stage, I think what is an absolute paradox and amazing and beautiful is these women that I perform with or in shows will be the most powerful, sexualized, self-sexualized beings on stage. Like, they will just exude confidence and drip sex. And backstage, we are all just some different form of potato laughing about fart jokes and, like, the weird things that kind of, like, get wedged into our asshole by accident and where we find rhinestones the next day.
I think of burlesque in a form of like a way to play with a different part of yourself. Like some people might do this in their kinks, right? So they might like dom or sub and get to like express some part of themselves that doesn't get to see the light of day often. Yeah. I think that happens for people who like get into furrydom. Yeah. And then burlesque is just another form of that. You're just doing it on a stage, sharing it with people.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people who get into burlesque there's some parts, so at some point in their life, they really want to be seen, and they want to be seen in a sexualized way, in a sexy way, and have power over that. And a lot of it, I think, stems from some level of insecurity at some point. And it's about like taking control and creating that persona that you want. And there's so much comfort in that. I mean, there's nothing more exhilarating than walking on stage and transforming, and that's what we do. I mean, you see someone practicing in their living room or practicing in an aerial studio surrounded by small children trying to do their weird little thing and not be a creeper. And then you see them come alive on stage with the lights and the audience and the crowd.
I think you specifically really do, because you really put a lot of attention to your look. So you'll do full makeup, you'll pull out a wig, you'll be rhinestone into the gods.
To the gods, yes. Yeah, well, it's interesting. It's like every time I do an act, I will have some moments during the routine where I'm truly in the moment and I'm self-aware. Like when I first started performing, there was a lack of awareness. It's like the bell would go off, I would come on stage, and then it was over. And I'm kind of like, what the fuck just happened? Yeah. And then I'd watch my video and I'm like, oh, that was kind of cool. But now that I have more experience and I'm more comfortable and confident, I go out on stage, shit just happens. Things that actually are going wrong, like I'm ahead of my music or I'm behind my music, I'll fill that space with a thing I've never done before that's just like teasing and being playful with the crowd. And then I'm like, that's actually what people are going to remember from this routine. Yeah. When I killed time by swatting a little bell hanging from my neck.
Yeah. I love it. So what would you say is some advice to people looking to start in burlesque, or people who are looking to express their sexuality in maybe a healthy risk?
The first step is go to lots of shows. I hear a lot of people, and I'll get messages sometimes, people asking me how to get started, and they've maybe been to one show, and it was one show by one producer, one time, and they were like, this is really cool. Well, go to everything.
Yeah.
Taste all of the flavors. Get out there. Be a part of the community. Because, there is this kind of opposition to people just showing up and being like, I have arrived, I'm ready to perform. There is an expectation in burlesque, because it is community, that you are going to be an active, willing participant.
Yeah, so you have to care.
Yeah, you have to care. You have to be friendly. You have to know people. Nobody wants to work with a bitch. And you can be super fucking talented, but if you are hard to work with, we're not getting paid enough in burlesque to put up with that bullshit.
Yeah.
Are there any unexpected challenges that you've encountered being a male in sort of a female-dominated art form?
I haven't really experienced a lot of that, but part of it is I feel like I am a super friendly, non-threatening male backstage,
I picture you being like Miss Congeniality.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, maybe, yeah. And
you just put together.
Okay, I can see that. And I want the sash now. But, I think being a male in that community, you have to be respectful. So you have to be respectful of women. You have to be respectful of the limitations that women have. So, for example, and not everyone agrees with this, but the pasty thing, right? Mm-hmm. So, women are required to cover their nipples, and that's like a TABC thing, and that is in most states. And depending on where you are in the country, the rules might even be more strict. So some of the blue laws in other states are like the entire underboob must be covered and all sorts of things like that.
Please tell me there's a law that says underboob.
Oh, I don't know if underboob is the actual phrase, but now I'm curious. But
your hind teat.
But as a male performer, when I first started, I didn't wear pasties. I didn't cover my nipples, and I was like, what? I could just walk around everywhere like this. But, there are female performers and there are trans performers who all have to operate under different rules and guidelines, and we should be in lockstep with them.
Yeah, I actually like it when you have your pasties on.
Yeah, and now that my costumes are more than just gay underwear I got at a gay underwear store. With some shitty brand listed across the front.
In my head, it was just the worst, like lowest
Oh,
rent.
honey, it was like I took a Sharpie and I like scratched through the C and 2 logo on some fairly unflattering underwear. And now it's different. Now I have like full costumes and I put effort into my look. And, honestly, I think that the pasties and the sparkle they kind of add to the ambiance, and that's kind of the look and the aesthetic that I'm going for anyway. So it's fine.
I would imagine that because you are such a powerhouse and sexual being, like when you're performing, that there could be a lot of folks who have never maybe been attracted to someone who is a male body. And that could probably create some interesting situations.
Yeah, so it doesn't really surprise me now, but when I first really started performing and creating some of my more like noteworthy acts, a real common theme that would come up is I would walk off stage, and when you get booked in a show, one of the expectations is that you go around and you talk to people and you're courteous and friendly and you take pictures with people and you're nice.
In your costume.
In your costume.
Yeah,
and
you're still on.
And I've learned some things about that. Like, I should not walk around in a thong because whether it's right or not, there is just so many people who will take liberties on what they can and cannot touch.
Absolutely.
So you kind of have to create like a little bit of a walled garden around yourself to protect yourself. But one thing that was a common theme that would come up is this, for all I can tell, visibly straight couple would come up, and there's a guy standing kind of lurking back, and his wife or girlfriend comes up and says, "Oh my God, they're usually drunk. I just love you so much. And you know what? My husband is like totally straight. Like he just loves the pussy, but like he just thinks you are so sexy. Can we get a picture with you?" And then she steps back and he steps in, and then I'm like, have my arm around this big hunk of straight man, and he's just like awkwardly smiling. And I'm like, okay. All right, come get it.
This is going to be in your spank bank later on.
Yeah,
but when I say come get it, like, also, don't touch me below the waist.
Yeah. There are limits to come get it.
There are limits.
Oh, my goodness. So one of the questions I have, too, here is, like, what do you want to see more or less of in the burlesque community?
Oh, man. Polish? I mean, there's the burlesque scene covers so many different styles and so many different like levels, right? And I love seeing acts that have been refined, that have not like one-off performances, but acts that someone keeps coming back to and making improvements.
Like good story, good concept that's been
good story,
revamped.
Good concept.
Someone's focusing on how to make the act really
looking for
the best it can be.
opportunities to improve nuance, because at the end of the day, I think what really makes a burlesque act shine is the detail, right? Mm-hmm. Like the way you look at the audience at certain moments, the way you connect with your musicality. Some of my favorite acts, even if they're not super complicated, there will just be these moments where the performer finds like a subtone or beat in their music, and they do something really dirty to it. And it's this sound that you could easily miss.
I think of Chola Magnolia when you say that.
God,
She's like really fantastic at taking a moment and just like giving a look, and I'm all like, girl, you're doing nothing but looking at me, and it is doing everything.
We were both at the
Big
D Burlesque Festival this last weekend, and we were both featured performers, and she performed Thursday night and then I believe Saturday night, and she is just like she walks on stage with absolute confidence, and she makes the most lively, sometimes frightening faces that exude power.
Yes.
And she owns it. And, watching her get up there and just create these stories and connect with the audience, or even more so, stand on the edge of the stage and just look at the VIP tables and just dare them to look away.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's power,
Yeah, I was going to say earlier that it sounds cliche for people to say that confidence is sexy, but it really is. Like someone who doesn't fit the standard for what society might think is sexy can show an inordinate amount of self-confidence and just own a room. And then people who do fit the standard and show extreme self-confidence can take it to a whole nother level. It's
absolutely.
I feel like
crazy.
that happens to me in our open relationship. like your love for me has me go out there swinging for the fences. And, sometimes she hits a grand slam. And I'm all like,
God.
wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Look at that. Look
somehow-
what I did.
Yeah. I'm somehow going to take credit for this.
You should.
Yeah, sure.
I think it comes from like the security of like knowing like, oh, I'm loved and valued. And, some people fuck with this and that's great. And some people don't. And so they're going to miss out.
True. I mean, but I experienced the same thing. Like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, right? And so
Yes. You also have crippling shame.
But don't we all have a little bit of crippling shame?
I mean, you two do. I went to therapy school for a very long time.
it's the shame that keeps me going to the gym.
I know. It's a shame that makes Icky, I think, probably push a little harder for practice.
I mean, it's double-edged because, I'm fortunate that I don't take my concerns about shame too deeply, but it is a driving factor in a lot of my success.
Yeah.
Is like concern and fear that I'm garbage, that I'm going to be found out, that one day people are going to realize that everything I do is derivative of everything I've done, and that I'm really not that clever or creative or any of those things.
Yeah. Is it okay for me to talk about how we met?
Yeah, sure.
So we met on Grindr, and you loved the fact that my pronouns on
Bougie
Grindr was
garbage!
bougie garbage, and we just clicked. You just
Yeah.
identified with that.
Yeah, I did. And, it's so hard, especially since I moved more into the burlesque community, and most of my friends and the people that I talk to on a regular basis are performers or producers or in some way involved in this like body positive, queer identified space. I find myself relating less and less to, gay men at large.
Yeah.
And like the quote-unquote gay scene and go into the gay bars on Friday and Saturday night and all of that. Like I don't feel comfortable there. And so when I find another person who is, kind of like me, who looks at the world through that queer lens and sees their place in it a little bit differently, that's a really powerful thing.
I'm so glad that we became friends. I'm getting like emotional, but I'm going to talk about it anyhow.
Cry, bitch.
It's probably going to happen because I'm someone who lives with depression.
Well, let me get my phone.
So,
Jerk off to this later.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So sometimes my depression wants to scoop me up, and you're like my depression buddy. You're one of the people that I can call, and you get it, and you let me be me. And the last time it tried to flare up, you were like, "Come on over, girl," and you made me pasta sauce that you spent 5 hours making, and then you had your Alexa say a bunch of dirty things to me.
Just love making Alexa. So just a tip for you guys, if you have an Alexa, is you can really add anything you want to the shopping list. So you can just say random horrific things, then you can just have Alexa read off your entire shopping list.
This is what it's like. It was like this. Sweaty balls. Alex, yeah.
Oh,
Alex has sweaty balls. It's
Yes.
fine. He does.
wow.
Yeah, huge sweaty balls.
But no, one of the things that I think, what I really appreciate is, when you kind of go into that spell, you're also able to communicate, things that you need.
Mm-hmm.
And, that also helped me, be supportive to you because, without that, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what people want. I'm kind of like a little cactus on my own. And I don't know. Everyone is different, and how we react to things and what we consider helpful is all different. And you were really good at communicating and verbalizing that, so it makes it very clear how to be helpful.
Yeah. And at the same time, not like you were responsible for me.
Right.
It's just like, hey, I need connection and control.
Yeah, and I think, God, I just, whether we're talking about depression or any other thing in our life, that's probably one of the most valuable skills that people can have is to be able to express what they need and to be able to say it and not feel bad about it and also not make that the responsibility of other people.
And that's the wild thing to me when people want to shit talk Grindr. So there's a lot of issues with Grindr, but I'm like, to a degree, it's what we make it.
Looking for a reason to delete this stupid app.
Oh my gosh.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
Yeah. But it's easy to say, oh, well, that's just trash.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you can actually use it to build community and have people that see you and care about you.
Well, not only that reaction is built on this premise of like the heteronormative utility of sex and relationships, right? Like that is built on this notion that what we're doing there on Grindr, or if we're meeting people and we're having sexual relationships, that it is bad and it is a holdover until we find this other magical thing.
How many people in our community are like so fragmented that their Grindr's like 69, like take a shit on me, fist me. Not that there's anything wrong with those things. I think they're all beautiful acts for people who enjoy them. But then their Tinder is like, I just want 2.5 children.
Yes.
And I'm like, you're so fragmented.
Right.
Like, you can want to have both of those things simultaneously and be
Right.
lovable still.
Right.
I think a lot of folks in our community, men who love men especially, like we learn to explore our erotic self outside of our everyday self because it's too threatening to the worlds that we're in to have that be integrated.
Right.
And that can carry over into adulthood.
Right. Well, you know, and it's connected to all these other things. Like, you know, okay, so polyamorous or open relationships are a lot more prolific in the gay community. But then there's also this huge section of the gay community that sees those types of relationships as less than. As like, oh, there must be a problem with you and your chosen partner if you were looking for these other things outside of it. Well, you know, like, not everyone likes the same things. Not everyone can supply the same value in all cases and situations. And we're self-limiting ourselves.
And at all times. Like, I cannot imagine being like, cool, we decided it 10 years ago. This is what this is going to mean to be in this relationship. And no matter how much we grow, we are still held to that relationship contract.
Right.
MaSean, do you ever experience people on Grindr like talking ish to you because we are more than monogamous?
No, I mean, I talk to very few people on Grindr, so I don't run into that. But it is weird or unusual to me how often people in the gay community sort of push those heteronormative values and see open relationships as intrinsically less, which is it's just strange to me. I mean, like, why would you try to be like the other?
Here's what's wild to me too is we get fetishized sometimes by like our straight friends. Like they see us as some like married, like quintessential little lovebird couple, and I'm like, yeah, we have that. And sometimes I want to like bang some twink.
Yeah, this is
what
true.
else can you say?
It's all the things.
He said it all.
But like the like excitement or hope, like you could see people like be like, oh. I remember when we first talked about being open, one of our friends, the person turned to me and said, "Don't you get him sick."
Oh, true. That did happen. There's a lot of ground to cover there.
Yeah, because one, I was working in HIV services at the time, so I was like, well, I know a lot about STIs. Two, you're assuming that like people who have consensual non-monogamy are somehow more at risk of STIs. Three, I know you have an STI because you told me like 2 months ago.
Right, and then the judgment's thrown on you.
Yeah.
Also, I am also in this relationship, so it's hard to choose one of the two people and be like, "Don't you get the other one sick?" It's like we're both in this.
Yeah.
I mean, what if I were to be the one that got him sick?
What if MaSean gave me tuberculosis? Huh?
Yeah, it's a weird judgment to cast on one half of the party. Yeah.
So, do you get flack from people for being more than monogamous?
Not really, but part of that is because of the community that I thrive in.
Yeah.
You know, like polyamory, openness, like body positivity, much deeper connection to your own sexuality is really common in the burlesque space. Not to say that everyone is some like, you know, poly sex freak or whatever, but poly sex freaks are fucking celebrated. We're like, yes, honey, you get it.
Yeah.
You know, like live your life.
Yeah.
And you know, there's this freedom there in not being apologetic about what you do with your time and the relationships you foster. You know, like there is nothing magical about the act of sex, you know, that makes it stand so much superior to any other way that you might relate to someone.
It's just one form of connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think helping people understand that there are lots of ways to intentionally connect with yourself, your environment, your friends and family, your partners, and they're all valuable. And if we value all of those just as they are and take out this hierarchy, then we have so much more access to feeling good and feeling like all the love that is available to us.
Well, it's this notion that I think is just ingrained in our society that sex represents, like if you were going to put it in like a pie chart, it's like 40% of a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And well, that's really not the case. And you know, when you've been married for more than a few years, like you realize, I think, that is not the end all be all. Like the things that really matter is how you communicate about your finances, how you support each other, how you help each other actualize your dreams, how you give each other feedback, how you just support each other in every facet of your life. And that's really the stuff that determines how you're building a home with someone.
So I get a lot of folks who come to me for therapy, and they say, you know, we have great friendship, we've gotten along for years, and now this person is maybe more kinky, more the monogamous, maybe they're more fluid in their sexuality. And that happened because in that partnering, they had such a secure connection. That person could finally go to some rougher edges, darker places within themselves that they've been told to feel shame about, and can finally express it. And I don't know any healthy relationship that doesn't go through this process of that closeness encourages individual risk. So both people in the relationship take an individual risk to grow, and then the relationship has to expand to hold that growth.
Agreed.
Oh, good, because that's what's happening
So
here.
much so.
I have a question about burlesque. What inspired you, and when did that first begin? How do you decide I want to get on stage and dance?
Okay, so you know, when it first started, I was working at this education company, and I was married, and it was, you know, there's that moment in a relationship where you were like white knuckling through it, like you're trying to make it work. And it's not that we didn't love each other or anything like that. We just like when we met, we were like broken people, and we kind of healed ourselves individually.
So then it's like, do we
Yeah,
keep this
and then
going, or what?
I was like, you know, we just didn't like each other in the same way anymore. Like we couldn't be the same people in each other's lives. We had lost our codependency, which was like the glue that held us together. And so anyway, I'm like in this big meeting at work, and we're kicking off a new project, and we did this icebreaker that was like list 3 things on your bucket list. And one of the things on my bucket list was circus acrobatics. And then I thought, well, why the fuck not? I really don't like going home right now. So I might as well go to this like aerial studio. And I started taking aerial classes, and that was fun. And then about 2 weeks later, a friend took me to my first burlesque show. And there was this performer who's like also an ex-king of burlesque who was performing Mr. Gorgeous from New York. And he did an aerial silk number and burlesque, and he just exuded confidence on stage, all like 6'6" of him, and he did these awesome acrobatics, and I was enthralled, and I just sat there thinking like I want to do that. That is what I want to do. And so aerial became my way into burlesque because I was much better at doing aerial than I was at being competent and confident on stage at the time. And so, you know, over the course of my burlesque career, I have slowly been shifting like the weight of my acts from being heavily aerial to more character driven. You know, that's just like kind of a thing that's happened. But you know, what was a really important thing for me when I stepped into burlesque was that I had this, like, for the first time in my life, I didn't have to owe anyone anything. I didn't have to give any fucks about what my husband thought about me or how he viewed my relationship with masculinity and femininity and how I represented myself on stage. Like, I didn't have to give any fucks about that. And that was, like, a super powerful thing because up to that point, I feel like I had been living my life through the lens of other people, like how other people saw me. And I was just like this mirror for what other people expected. And then now I'm like, hi, this is me. I don't really care what you think.
I have a dick cat routine.
Yeah, I have a dick cat routine. I'm gonna go to this big burlesque festival, and I'm going to like throw a rhinestone shit at someone in the audience, and you know, no one can stop me.
Yeah. The poster child for you.
Yeah. So if you were going to assign MaSean an act for burlesque, what kind of act would you give this beautiful Cajun?
Oh, man. I would kind of like to see you painted orange with a fish face on, doing like a magic harp routine to Miley Cyrus's Pablo the Blowfish song.
I love it. I was afraid this was going in a Trump direction.
No.
You said I'd be painted orange.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
Orange, red. I'm not really sure what the Magikarp is. I'm colorblind. But, I mean, it's one of those.
My goodness.
I've had a few. I used to work in aerial arts also, and have taken a few workshops and classes in burlesque and whatnot. Do you do workshops? Do you travel and teach, or no?
You know, sometimes, usually when I do workshops, I do, they're almost all aerial focused. So, you know, my split life is on one side, I do a lot of arm balance and inversion stuff because I taught yoga for a really long time, and that was like a big part of my life for about 10 years. And now that I've moved into burlesque, namaste, y'all. But now with burlesque and aerial, what I am most known for is the aerial component.
Yeah.
And so aerialists, you know, are more likely to really want to work with me. I'm less comfortable teaching people floor stuff and like non-aerials because I have so much insecurity about my own skills.
You say this, but we did a show back in October. So we did a Golden Girls seance.
It was mortifying. I was so mortified.
And we had Icky dress up like Blanche.
Yeah, it was good wig.
And did a chair number.
Wig.
And it was incredible.
It was fun.
People were still into it.
I was so out of my comfort zone, and you know me. You know how I have a bar that is like a bar that I've set for myself, and you know, have you ever seen that there's this thing that goes around on the internet every now and then, usually by people working on creative stuff, and it's like the 7 steps of the creative process?
I have not. Because
It's something along the lines, it's like the timeline of creating something creative, right? And it's like, this is shit. I am shit.
yeah.
Or like, I've got a great idea. I'm amazing. I am shit. This is shit. Everything I do is shit. It's all right. Okay, that wasn't so bad. Something along those lines, you know?
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how I am. So, you know, even when I am totally confident in what I'm doing, I still am like super overly concerned about being garbage.
Yeah.
And then when I'm not as confident about it, then I'm just like a fucking train wreck.
I think about it in terms of surrounding yourself with people who aren't just going to fangirl, but can like compassionately tell you like what's going well and what's not going well.
Absolutely. And that's like, you know, I have some students and friends who, you know, they were my aerial students, or I'm kind of their burlesque dad in some way, and we're just really close, and I give them feedback. And, you know, I only have like maybe one person who will give me the level of feedback that I try and give to other people. And that's Miss Malicious in Dallas. And she'll look at my stuff and she'll go, well, that's really stupid right there. That doesn't make any sense. And I'll call her after smoking a bunch of weed and be like, girl, I got this great idea. What if we do this, this, and that? And she's like, well, no to all of that. But also, it's really late. Why are you calling me right now? You know, and you know, that's really great because like the worst kind of feedback is generic, non-specific feedback. It is not helpful.
When people are like, you're awesome.
Yeah, it is not helpful at all to be told you're awesome. Even if something is awesome, there is always room for improvement. There is always nuance you could add in. You could say like, I really love that. This is what I love about it, but here is something that you could do that would make this even better.
My note to fangirls out there who are listening, if you want to tell someone how much you love them, pick something very specific about what you just witnessed and talk about that.
Yeah.
Generic feedback is my wheelhouse.
But also in terms of feedback, if you have constructive feedback or feedback to improvements, make sure it is solicited.
Yeah.
So if you're like a random person in the audience, do not walk up to a performer and be like, you know what would have been even better?
Yeah.
Because you know what?
Two
like,
rhinestone shits.
When we are like running on our after performance high and some random person starts giving us like unsolicited feedback, we will drag you backstage.
Yeah.
We will drag
and not
you.
in a good way.
No.
Icky, you do a lot. You have some stuff coming up. A lot of your stuff's in Dallas.
Yeah, most of, you know, I was in Dallas for so long, and I just that's where my Burley family is and my troupe that I still perform
Burley
with.
family, I love
Yeah.
it.
And
Should be a shirt.
that's where it all is. And then I taught yoga up there for a long time. So I've got, a Burton Burlesque show in early October.
October 5th.
And then the following weekend, one of our troupe members, Honey Hula La, she recently had breast cancer surgery. And so this whole show and the gigantic, amazing raffle around it is all to raise funds to help pay for her surgery and all the things that happen when you have breast cancer and no health insurance.
Yeah.
And that's on October 12th.
Yeah. And then, arm balance and handstand workshop in November.
November 9th.
Yep. I'm so glad you have these dates, girl.
Yeah, she's very on it.
And then the second Saturday of December, which is December
14th.
Yeah, my troupe, we're doing a Buffy the Vampire Slayer
What?
show.
I want to come to that.
Yeah, you absolutely
Can
should.
I come be
yeah,
like your
we can
special
come
guest?
together. It'll be great.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going to mark that out. And then Nearly Naked Nutcracker.
Absolutely.
Oh,
no.
wow.
So, Nearly Naked
title.
Nutcracker is kind of a staple in the burlesque scene in Dallas. And they took like a break last year, but it's coming back. And, it's just like the story of the Nutcracker retold loosely through the art of strip and tease.
I love it. Well, Icky, where can people find you?
If you type in Icky Muffin in Facebook or on the Instagrams, you will fucking find me.
He's everywhere.
Everywhere.
Well, I am so glad that you came and joined us this morning. There's a lot of things you could be doing, and you hit a new low.
This
Thank
is
you.
pretty
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Thanks. It was awesome.
So
I have friends in low places. Get on your knees, bitch.
I was going to say, it makes it easier for fun. Well, thank y'all for listening. MaSean's got nothing as usual. Perfect.
Nope. Bye.
Bye.
Well, MaSean, I have a
Yes.
question for you.
Shoot.
Which X-Men would you like to bang?
I can pick more than one.
Oh my, you're doing like an X-Men orgy?
I mean, maybe not an orgy.
Is it an X-Men three-way?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love to get in on a couple.
My God.
I feel like
I already
I'm
know where you're going because you're obsessed with one of these people.
going to be a Gambit rogue guy.
Oh my God. I think you just want Gambit because he's also from the swamp and you'd feel very seen. He's Louisianan, right?
He
How do y'all
is.
say it? Louisiana? I don't.
Flusiana?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But he's from the swamps.
He is. He's supposed to be a New Orleans guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Rogue.
Georgia?
I don't know.
I mean, Southern Belle.
I'm
Whatever.
just into her. Why do you want to have a three-way with him?
They're a good couple. Well, she's my favorite female character.
She's my favorite.
Yeah, I know.
Do you think I'm like her?
Yes.
I do take the power from men.
Always wearing gloves.
Yes.
Super annoying. Take off the goddamn gloves.
Oh my gosh.
How about you?
What would you want your position to be in that?
Oh,
Are you gonna be like the watcher? Do you want to be like the
hell
center
no.
stage?
I ain't watching. I get nothing out of watching.
Yes.
I have a hard time making it through a movie.
You're gonna like fall asleep. If it's anything like you watching a movie at the house, you're gonna fall asleep.
Yeah.
10 minutes into it.
I think that happened last night.
Yeah, it did. I left you on the couch.
You did. I woke up sitting up in total darkness at like 2 a.m. I was very confused. I didn't know what happened.
I'm like, I can't deal with this.
I thought I'd been abducted. It was unsettling. Yeah, no, full taking part,
Yeah.
leading the show.
I think I would like to maybe have sex with Beast.
Oh,
Yeah.
hairsuit lover.
Just because like I love to dominate masculinity.
Oh, yeah.
And he's also smart, so he would like get it, right? Like I could dominate Wolverine, but then like every now and then his like what alloys, what are his things made out of?
oh, adamantium.
Yeah, I don't know because I'm
Get
not a nerd. Those things would like pop off because he'd be like, I don't like this, but Beast would get it. Like,
Okay,
yeah, he'd be into some like high fantasy.
I can follow you
femdom,
there.
and I would feel really good about it.
Yeah,
And then I could like braid his hair.
and he can hang upside down, so that just creates more
What?
possibilities.
That is,
Yeah.
it's endless.
That Spider-Man situation.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Me and My Gorgeous Husband.
I am gorgeous.
True.
Keep following along, and new episodes will be coming soon. All over your face. Yeah. Me and My Gorgeous Husband is produced by Mariah Gossett, Adam Marr of Moon Tower Counseling, and MaSean Fontenot.
That's me.
Yeah, that is you. Show me that beautiful butt. Tag team.
Back again.
We'll be around, I guess, next week or sometime.
Tune back in.
Who knows?